When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
We're back. It's Draftvice. Wow, that was a little bit much, right? Even for me, if you watch the show, you know that was much, even for me. All right, so we're back. We're here, and we're talking the Bucs and the LA Rams. The Bucs. Why the Bucs? Well, because they're the Bucs. You got Tom Brady now, famous Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Yeah, that's what we all thought when we heard Tom Brady. Who would have thought a year ago Tom Brady was going to be a Buccaneer? Nobody. Zero people. But then again, 2 years ago, nobody would have thought Bruce Arians was going to be the coach of the Buccaneers. So there you go. It seems to be like one of those things where it's like, wait, really? Who? Are we sure? Come on. And then it happens. And it would be like, the Buccaneers are like, I don't know, the most quasi weird team. Like when you say the people who've been associated with the Buccaneers, you go, huh? But it's true. No hating. I like them. They're a good team. Well, they're a team. Anyway, but they did do well in this draft. They did do well in free agency. They got the greatest quarterback of all time, getting up into those later years, but still, he's still the greatest quarterback of all time. Maybe fighting it out with Peyton. I'm kidding. He's the greatest. Anyway, we got Tom Brady, right? But that's not the only offseason move they did. We got to stop just thinking like that, right? They got rid of Jameis Winston, right? Their best defensive player. I'm kidding. They signed three guys back. They re-signed Ndamukong Suh. They re-signed Jason Pierre-Paul. They re-signed Shaq Barrett. And then they traded for Gronk. Yeah, the guy who was retired. Everybody comes out of retirement and goes to Tampa. It's like they all lived in New York or something. Yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, they had quite the offseason. I didn't feel like I actually go much into their offseason at this point. This is a very quick offseason recap. Very good offseason though. They have a very young defensive back core. They have Bruce Arians. They got Brian Leftwich who's gonna be their OC year 2. And they have Todd Bowles, former head coach of the Jets, being their D coordinator and getting a lot out of that team. So here we go. They go into the draft, right? They're sitting there. They're waiting. They're at pick 14, and they get a phone call. Or they didn't get a phone call. They gave a phone call. Yes, apparently the stories are that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers called everybody from 7 on down so they can get a tackle. And guess what? They literally didn't have to do that. They did not have to do it. They didn't even have to call San Francisco to do it. I don't even get why you would call San Francisco to do it. They were like, hey, Carolina, Carolina, come back, Carolina. Oh, we'll call up Arizona. Arizona, you want to trade with us? Arizona, what? Isaiah Simmons, okay. And they just went down the board. Like they were like, Cleveland, we know you want to tackle. We want to tackle. Can we figure out a thing? Maybe I'll give you some picks like you did with the Carson Wentz thing. And Cleveland wasn't hearing it because they didn't want. They had the best tackle on their board. Well, we don't need to go into that. So anyway, they get all the way down to pick 13, right? Pick 13, they call up the 49ers. They know they're going to be the next pick, but maybe they had some inside light, right? They had inside track because, the 49ers, they just lost Joe Staley. He retired. It's very sad, very amazing, very good player. But we kind of knew this was eventually going to come. He was in his older years. So they said, you know what? We won't take out a tackle. What we'll do is we'll trade back with you. We'll trade one pick back. You give us your 4th rounder that we will later use to trade up later on in this first round because we have 2 first-round picks, but we don't want anything beyond our first 2 first-round picks. It would be way too confusing. So they went ahead. They traded. They pick swapped, right? This is somehow what the 49ers do. They pick swap. They convince people to trade picks for 1 pick up. So they do the trade, and they get Tristan Wirfs, right tackle out of Iowa. Probably one of the best tackles in this class, definitely one of the top 4 guys. He fell probably because a lot of teams thought it was more of a guard than a tackle. I like him, athletic, good mover. Very much fits a zone scheme. What everybody's going to tell you, he fits a zone scheme. He fits a zone scheme. But not for nothing. A lot of people say he's mainly a guard. I think he can play tackle. I watched his game tape. His worst game tape was him holding up against Josh Uche, and guess what? He held up well against Josh Uche. So I don't know. Again, now granted, it's all relative, right? They're all going to come into the NFL. They're all going to be rookies. I personally think that Tristan Wirfs, Great guy to replace Demar Dotson. Demar Dotson's out of there. He's 39 years old, 35 years old, 34 years old. But yeah, there's a Peter King story where he talked about that whole trade-up story. Go ahead, check it out. Go read it. So yeah, pick 13, perfect pick. This is what they wanted the whole damn time, right? Now they got Tristan Wirfs on the right side. They got oh god damn it, who is the is it not Dotson? Who's their left tackle? Oh, Donovan Smith, right? They got Donovan Smith on the left side, and now and then their interior was actually relatively good. Alex Kappa, Ali Marpet, Ryan Jensen, who they signed from Baltimore. So actually, that team is starting to, that line's coming up. I think that was a very good move. That was really what they needed. Their receiving core is going to be pretty because they got Godwin and Evans and Gronk. So, dude, that's an elite receiving core. Now, like, Brady's got all the weapons in the world. He's got a great O-line. So they make it to the second round, right? Pick 45 in the second round, 13th pick on the board, and they go for Antoine Winfield Jr. out of Minnesota. Bruce Arians said he reminded him, he's like part Honey Badger, part Buddah Baker, which is weird because I felt like Buddah Baker was compared to Honey Badger when he came out, so you're basically saying he's two parts of the same kind of guy. And they're very similar players, kind of very versatile, good ball hawk. So I get it. Like, that's what he wanted. He said Todd wants to get more complex. He wanted a bright player at the position, a guy who can flex and play nickel and dime backer, but had the ability to split field and be a safety as well and be able to be good in coverage. So, yeah, Antoine Winfield Jr., I know a lot of friends of mine who were on the live stream who were big fans of this pick. I think it was a good pick. Now, again, there was, there might have been other, safety is one of those positions that's scheme specific. This guy's going to probably be there like Jamal Adams, the versatile guy. He's going to basically, again, like I said before, he's going to be kind of a flex nickel dime backer safety. And they're going to utilize him all along the line of scrimmage. They're going to create some crazy looks. I think this was a good pick on their part. He was definitely one of the best safeties in this draft. He was definitely one of the best of that kind of safety. That's for damn sure. So now, and definitely the best one left on the board. That wasn't a free safety named Grant Delpit. Anyway, pick 76 in the third round. Pick 12. They took Keyshawn Vaughn out of Vanderbilt. This is one of their two running back picks, right? We'll talk about him. And also their pick that they took 245, they took Raymond Calais out of Louisiana-Lafayette, running back. He's more of the small pass-catching running back, like TJ Logan. And in fact, he'll probably battle TJ Logan for a roster spot. And then Keyshawn Vaughn's more of the every down back. Right, so that was kind of, they wanted to get, they want a competition. They want to see who's going to really win out that role, whether it's going to be Ronald Jones or Keyshawn Vaughn, it seems like he could be an every down player, and then maybe you have Raymond Calais, who can be a versatile pass catching back, kind of like a joystick role, if you will. So now they didn't have a fourth round pick. They go to because that was Gronk. They traded for Gronk. And then they traded and got a fourth round pick, and they traded that away to move up one spot in the first round. So they had no fourth rounders. Fifth round, they take Tyler Johnson, wide receiver out of Minnesota. This guy's a good route runner. He's got good hands. PFF loved him. Shane, buddy Shane, who's on the podcast and on the live stream, he loved him. So this is a good pickup for them in the fifth round. He can battle for the wide receiver 3 role. There's been some rumors that Scott Miller might compete for that other wide receiver 3 role now that Brashad Perriman's gone. We'll talk a bit about their losses in free agency as well. So yeah, I thought that was a good pickup. They did need to kind of fill out the receiving core again. They've lost a lot of guys over the past few years. By the way, anybody shocked that that Tampa Bay has been actually pretty good at drafting receiver? Like they had Humphreys last year who went off into free agency. People wanted to pick him up. They have Cameron Braid on their roster. By the way, they've got a really thick tight end roster. And I don't mean thick like they're all big, bulky dudes. I'm saying there's just a lot of guys, a lot of tight ends. O.J. Howard, Cameron Braid, Gronk. Very deep roster at tight end. And so Tyler Johnson in the fifth round. Sixth round, they take Khalil Davis out of Nebraska. This guy's cool, man. This guy's big, fast, athletic defensive tackle. He was at the East-West Shrine game. He ran a 4.76 in the 40. He is big. He's athletic. He's going to be like he's not going to be the nose tackle, but he might be like, either, in the three, I guess he'd be a three technique. I don't think they really, like when they run their scheme, I don't think they have a three technique, but whatever that D tackle is, but he's gonna be the guy who's gonna be trying to hit the passer, basically. So you got Khalil Davis, probably going to be a three-tech form of defensive tackle. Going to line over the guard and try to push the pocket kind of guy. Now you got picks. Now you're in the 7th round, right? In the 7th round, like again, this is where I took Raymond Calais. They took Chapelle Russell, Temple linebacker. He's aggressive, instinctive, can rush. He's tough. He's going to play on special teams, is what Bruce Arians said. So I think that made sense, right? Like it, it's a weird draft. They went like first 5 guys all played in the Big Ten, which is very different than some other drafts. Some drafts like spoke specifically for the SEC. It was a very good draft. I think there was a lot of good players there. Again, like I said, they drafted 2 running backs. Bruce Arians was like, listen, man, we love getting captains, right? So I thought that was a good move, man. Now we got to look at it from the abstract, right? Now, ever since Tom Brady got there, everybody went, this is a playoff team, right? This is a team that's going to the Super Bowl. Their odds just went up and up and up as they got Tom Brady, as they got Gronkowski, as he's trying to put on weight and, So you got Gronkowski there. You got O.J. Howard, who they were rumored to have been trading so they can get Trent Williams. That didn't happen. That was a rumor a while back, though. So now you got this filled out roster, right? You got a great receiving core: Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You got now they're gonna have people fighting out for the wide receiver 3 spot, and it could be any especially if they're running 11 personnel, 3 receivers, a tight end, a running back. They might go. Like I said before, Scott Miller was one guy. Justin Watson was another name that was thrown out there. Tyler Johnson was drafted. They're gonna play best guy available to go ahead and compete for that 3rd wide receiver spot. It's gonna be an important spot. These guys are good players. They could also play a lot more 2 tight end than they've been doing recently. Maybe Bruce Arians adapts his scheme a little bit, does what works for Tom Brady, Ryan Leftwich. So, they even tried sprucing up the offensive line. They signed Joe Haeg, formerly of the Colts, for a 1-year deal. He's going to compete for an interior O-line spot. So the offense looks like it should be good, right? This offense, it looks very high-powered, very potent. I think Tom Brady's probably playing with some of the best pass catchers he's had in years. He's going to have a nice little mixture of running backs back there, like a nice little gaggle of puppies. So now you got this offense, right? But what about the defense, right? Well, we talked about it before. They re-signed Sue, they re-signed JPP, and they re-signed Shaq Barrett. Dude, right there, those 3 guys are amazing for your defense, right? They drafted a safety. They still have Vita Vea on the roster to play D tackle, a nose tackle. They still have William Goldson, their D end. Pierre Paul's going to be rushing an outside linebacker. You got Shaq Barrett on the other side. And now they lost Nassib. They lost a few guys in free agency. They lost Brashad Perriman because he went to the Jets. They lost Nassib because he went to the Oakland Raiders. And he likes to talk, economics with folks, if you will. He's a big economics guy. He'll tell you how to invest your money. He's probably the guy most likely to, in the locker room, convince you to buy from their multi-level marketing scheme, which is fine. I actually signed up for his. It was it's not a bad one. It's actually about selling peanuts, and if I can get 6 other people to join me in selling peanuts, I can make a lot of money and win a trip to Oceania, Washington. Anyway, I don't even know there is an Oceania, Washington. So the front 7 looks kind of cool, right? They have Levante David and Devin White, who they drafted last year in the 1st round, top 10 pick. So their front 7 looks good, man. gets two very athletic linebackers. Levante David's a sure-handed tackler. You got a D-line that's built up of first-round picks, impressive pass rushers. That defense should be impressive. It should be kind of scary, right? Now they've added to their defensive backs with Antoine Winfield. At corner, they've got a whole host of guys they've drafted at corner, right? They got Carlton Davis. They got Jamal Dean. They've got, oh my God, what's the name of the guy? Oh, Sean Murphy Bunting, who they drafted in the second round last year. MJ Stewart. They got a very deep defensive back core, right? And then that's just the corners. Safety was really where they were weak at, right? So they drafted Antoine Winfield Jr. And they got Mike Edwards, Justin Evans. Evans was good. I liked Evans, actually. So now they got this I think the defense went from 30 to 5 last year, and they didn't do much for it. I mean, they did a bit for it, don't get me wrong. But JPP didn't play for most of the time. He had a neck injury, he got into a car accident. So, dude, this team is looking good. I'm impressed. I understand why they boosted their stock for odds of winning the Super Bowl, or at least getting into the Super Bowl. But you got to look at the teams that they're playing with in that division. Can they beat the Saints? Can they beat the Saints? Is really the hard one, right? I think that Atlanta and Carolina are in a weird mode right now, where I don't think I'm all that impressed with what they do. This is the team that I think is going to be the hard one to beat. They have a very diverse defensive back situation. Their front seven is good, and then again, offensively, you got Tom Brady, right? How many more games would the Bucs have won last year? They went 7-9. How many more games would they have won if they weren't throwing like 20 pick sixes, a season? Not that I hate Jameis Winston. I think if he goes to the right situation and develops, he will one day be a starter again. So. And in fact, he went to the Saints, right? The division rival I was just talking about. He's going to sit and learn from not Tom Brady, from your goon Drew Brees. So yeah, apparently, but I think it was a good move. I think it was good for both sides. They get to move on. They had other people. So this was a really good draft. It was good free agency. It was amazing free agency. They got a lot of pieces together. It's just the question of, who are they going to lean towards? Are they going to lean towards what Tom Brady does well? Or are they going to lean towards what Bruce Arians likes to do? Keep in mind, though, Tom Brady was still good at throwing at the intermediate parts of the field, which is kind of what Bruce Arians does. He does this he wants to throw, deep down the field, but not super deep. He likes to also throw to, the middle area of the field. So, with that being said, I think this is a team that has a lot of potential to make it to at least the playoffs. The problem is tough division and tough conference. But I'm interested to see where it goes. Good job, Tampa Bay. I think you did pretty dang good. Let's move to LA, motherfuckers. LA, Los Angeles, the city of angels. Because they're all dressed like them all the time. Have you ever been to L.A.? They just dress like angels. They all wear gowns. They have wings popping out of everything. Wings out of their shoes, wing-tipped things. Anyway, I've never been to L.A., but that's what I've heard, and that's what I'm sticking to. So the L.A. Rams, right? New stadium that's not going to get finished because of coronavirus. They didn't have a first-round pick. They spent 2 first-round picks on Jalen Ramsey of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So what did they do? Hey, they didn't have 2 first-round. They didn't have their first-round pick this year. But what they did get was an extra second-rounder. How'd they do that, you might ask? Well, they traded Brandon Cooks over to the Houston Texans after giving him an extension. Now, you might go, well, wait a second. Now, that sounds crazy. It does sound crazy. And it was kind of crazy. But at the same end, what they were trying to do is get a second-round pick. I don't know. I think they're trying to clear out. Well, first, what happens here is, they're going to eat $21 million in dead cap space because of this trade. That's a lot of dead cap. That's a very oddly surmounted. That's the highest amount of dead cap for a single player, supposedly. So you lose out on $20 million so you can get rid of Brandon Cooks so the Texans can play him at $8 million. You're making the Texans look smart here, LA. I'm just saying. So they get rid of Brandon Cooks. They get an extra second rounder. We'll talk more about their free agency in a bit. I don't know. With those two trades, though, it really sets up like what's going on here. One move is a move for the now. The other move is a move for the future. They were thinking they were going to lose Michael Brockers. He actually came back and re-signed after he had a deal with the Baltimore Ravens, but then they backed out, and they were like, yeah, you've got a weird ankle issue. You got high ankle sprain. And he's like, I should be fine. Rams passed him on his physical, signed him to a deal. He's done. They brought in a Sean Robinson, D tackle, and also outside linebacker Leonard Floyd of the Bears. So they got some pass rush help, a little bit of extra effort from Sean Robinson, D tackle, who again, I think that helps build out their D line, helps build up around Aaron Donald. Now you're trying to single up Aaron Donald. Sean Robinson's been pretty good at his previous stop, but he was I don't know if this sounds like a move to say we're trying to redo what we're doing on defense. Remember, they no longer have Wade Phillips to rely on anymore. And they got rid of a few players, right? They got rid of Nickel Roby Coleman. I thought that was a weird release. His contract wasn't that heavy. Nickel corners are actually pretty good players and important, especially nowadays. They lose Dante Fowler to free agency. The Rams also not just trade Brandon Cooks and need some dead money, they also cut Todd Gurley. We had a whole episode on it. Todd Gurley gone, and they're going to be eating at least $7 million in bonus money owed to him. Now, to be fair, there's a $2.5 million the $2.5 million of that is they are not paying. It's going to be paid by the it's an offset, if you will. That's what it's called, an offset. So they have the $2.5 million offset, so they really don't have to pay him $5 million. Problem is they haven't paid it to him, and it was due to him like 2 months ago. At least as of the time I last heard about this story, maybe they cleared everything up. But at one point in time, when he was supposed to get paid, he did not get paid. And neither did apparently Clay Matthews, who also got let go, as you will. So now they have all these like question marks with some former players. They got rid of Brandon Cooks. They're eating all the money on that. I don't know what their plan is, right? You would think it would be like, okay, they get Whitworth to come back on a 3-year deal. I don't think he's playing out that 3-year deal. I think some of that's just kind of playing cap money with them. I think they're playing funny money with the cap, if you will. So they bring back Andrew Whitworth, left tackle. Rob Havenstein's there. They think he's really the future at right tackle. He'll be back. They got some real effort out of Bobby Evans last year. So let's talk about this draft, right? I wanted to bring up the offensive line for a reason. They didn't address it till the 7th round, right? I heard a lot of people complain about a lot of other drafts. This was the one I felt was the most weird. Now, they had some good players. Don't get me wrong. Their first pick, Cam Akers, running back out of Florida. I heard a lot about people being like, oh, it's good. They got a running back. They just got rid of Todd Gurley. Yeah, you just got rid of Todd Gurley, and you're paying him because you gave him a stupid contract. Now you go ahead and you draft another running back after you drafted one in the 3rd round last year. Why doesn't that sound smart? Okay, whatever. I don't think Cam Akers is a bad player. In fact, I think he's a very good one. But it kind of reminds me of Jamal. I think that was even a little high to take him still. It kind of reminds me of Jamal Williams. So still, you know what? I get it. You took Cam Akers. You need a running back. He diversifies what you're doing on offense. You have Darrell Henderson. Now you're going to have Cam Akers. You're going to have some versatility there. And also you have Malcolm Brown, who you shouldn't have re-signed and gave him a contract, but you did. Who cares? Okay, that was their one move in the draft. What was their next one, right? After trading away Brandon Cooks, everybody goes, well, they're clearly drafting a receiver. And I'm like, well, yeah, maybe, if a good one's there. And they take Van Jefferson out of Florida. Yeah, here's the problem. Van Jefferson out of Florida does not match up with Brandon Cook's skill set. Now, there is some rumors that Josh Reynolds is going to really kind of replace Brandon Cooks. He's going to be the downfield threat because he did well in the spot. He did well as the outside receiving threat when Cooks wasn't playing. So, okay, maybe they feel like we got the outside covered. He's got some decent wheels. We could throw it to Josh Reynolds. Let's find the next replacement guy. Who's the next replacement on their roster? Well, they have to replace Robert Woods, right? Robert Woods is a veteran on their team. He's getting a little bit older, a little bit longer in the tooth, if you will. So they have they go ahead and they draft Van Jefferson out of Florida. A good route runner, very good hands, but he's not going to play outside the slot. The problem is they already have Cooper Kupp playing in the slot. Now, what Van Jefferson really fits mold-wise is really Robert Woods. He is a very similar style to Robert Woods. Good route runner, good hands. You're going to be utilizing him maybe more in a you're going to get him some matchups. You're going to maybe start him out a flanker and move him around the line of scrimmage. You're going to do a lot of the same things you do with Robert Woods to scheme him up open and utilize him. Okay, I like the player. It might have been a little high for me, but I get it. I like the player. It's the same thing with Cam Akers. I like the player. I felt like there were better players at positions of need at this point, right? You could have, again, I felt like a big need was offensive tackle. Josh Jones was sitting there. I felt like Josh Jones would have been perfect for him because Andrew Whitworth's getting older. He's not getting any younger, folks. It's just not what time does to you. So they go running back, receiver. Third round, they go Terrell Lewis out of Alabama. Finally, a pick I actually kind of like. A guy who really wasn't able to get on the field enough when he was at Alabama because he had some injury issues. But a guy who, if he hits, you have a good pass rusher, right? You lost Dante Fowler. You're addressing the edge rusher need. You drafted Ogbonnia Okoronkwo a couple of years ago. Now he's going to have to be getting on the field at this point, but he's like a fifth-round pick. Like their D-line, like their D tackles are deep. Their edge rushers, like Leonard Floyd's going to be on the roster. Like, okay, maybe he pans out a little bit. Maybe their scheme utilizes him better than he was used on the Bears. I could totally see that. So, okay, that one makes sense. I totally get the Terrell Lewis pick. Then they go with Terrell Burgess. Another pick I kind of like. They do need to fill out their safety room. Eric Weddle retired. They got some good play out of Taylor Rapp and is it Josh Jones, John Jones? So they got some good play out of their safeties last year. They then draft Bryson Hopkins out of Purdue. He might be a future replacement for one of the tight ends they have on their roster, like a Gerald Everett. Or if they're looking to get rid of Tyler Higbee, even though they extended Tyler Higbee. Both those guys, it sounds like they're moving more towards 12 personnel and 13 personnel, which again would mean 3 tight ends. So you're utilizing these guys to kind of get matchups. You're trying to play a little bit of play action, dictate what the defense has on the field, play matchup issues. Because again, Gerald Everett's a very good matchup guy to get on the field. So maybe they're looking at either Bryson Hopkins again sounds like another guy to be a part of the piece of the future. That was in the 4th round. 6th round, they go for Jordan Fuller, Ohio State. Again, they're attacking the DB position. I don't mind going after a DB out of Ohio State. Those, although it's not one of the higher up ones that you probably would have been better off. Again, he's a safety. Very scheme-specific position. But again, it's a very good move to double up on safety. You're trying to fill out that roster. A lot of times safeties also can play on special teams, so you have a very good utilization of some of your picks here. And then, they had 3 7th-round picks. Clay Johnson, Baylor. Kicker, Sam Sloman out of Miami, Ohio. Okay, drafted a kicker in the 7th round. Okay, I don't hate that move. I don't love it, but it's a move. It's a move. And then they went for offensive tackle Tremaine Oncrum out of Clemson. You at least took a tackle. You took the tackle out of Clemson. At least that's an opportunity. All right, so what do I think about this draft? I think it's okay, right? I'm not a big fan of it. It's probably not what I would do, especially those first 2 picks. I said this about the Bears draft. The teams that didn't have a first-round pick, when I saw their drafts, I'm like, dear God, what did you guys drink before you started drafting? Because it just looks weird. And a part of it is that that's the area where good players who maybe don't play valuable positions fall to. With the Bears, it was Cole Kmet. They felt like he was a good player at a not-so-valuable position to draft early on. And with the Rams, it was Cam Akers and Van Jefferson, guys who, maybe were not high on everybody else's board, but kind of were in that perfect position and fit what they need. okay, I get that you're trying to replace some pieces that you're hopefully going to be cycling out of your roster soon. I felt like they could have went for more edge rushing help, because again, their defense. I felt corner. Felt corner was a big need, to be honest. You have Jalen Ramsey, but you don't have the guy on the other side. To be fair, you also cut your nickel corner. Maybe they feel like they're going to get something out of David Long or Troy Hill. David Long, who was drafted last year very late. Maybe they feel like he can be a big player for them. Behind David Ramsey, there's not a lot there. So, yeah, I think you're going to utilize Taylor Rapp in kind of this nickel backer role. You're going to be able to utilize Terrell Burgess out of Utah, who, again, is used to play corner and moved to safety. And, these guys, you're all going to be able to utilize, at least the safeties part of it I kind of like. So maybe they're looking to move Terrell Burgess maybe to slot, Taylor Rapp to slot. Like they might get some mix and match of their scheme, if you will. So I get kind of what they're using their defensive back room for. I just, if defensive back is such an important position for you, right? Because you drafted 2 safeties in this draft. You traded for Jalen Ramsey. I could totally understand the argument that, hey, like, we're going pass coverage over pass rush. We'll take some flyers on some other guys, but really what we're doing is we're aiming at corner. Well, you should have probably drafted a corner, right? Like Troy Hill and David Long are going to be duking it out. Maybe they get somebody as a trade or, somebody who's an undrafted free agent. But as of right now, it doesn't look like that's a very good position outside of Jalen Ramsey, which is stupid because you traded 2 first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey. And at that time, you were either close enough where again, Christian Fulton was there on the board, both picks, right? Fill out that roster. Fulton's very versatile, could play zone or man. I felt like this was a draft where maybe a lot of drafts it goes like this, where we look at the drafts and we go, well, I wouldn't have done that. In some drafts you do it and you go, you know what, I wouldn't have done it, but I at least understand the move. This is a draft where I wouldn't have done it, and I kind of don't understand what they're doing. I kind of understand, but you have, extremely old Andrew Whitworth, who, by the way, looks like he's going to be filming a family sitcom on Netflix next year, everybody. He doesn't look like he's going to be playing tackle very long. He has like a beard that I love Whitworth. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. If you know me, you know I love tackles. Whitworth's one of my favorite players in the NFL. But if you're not drafting somebody to be his replacement in the future, especially given the offensive line play that happened and hit you hard last year, let's just go over their offensive line, right? They did re-sign Austin Blythe. He's going to be back preferably to play center. They did trade for Austin Corbett, former Brown, last year mid-season. Maybe he levels in at guard. David Edwards is on the team. They drafted him last year. They got Bobby Evans, who did spot start and played really well. So honestly, I think Bobby Evans might be part of your future. Maybe that's what they're thinking because they have Haverstein. So maybe they go, well, Bobby Evans played well on the right side. Maybe when we're really worried about Whitworth, we'll go ahead and play him on the left side. They have Joel Noteboom, Brian Allen, who had some. He wasn't really the greatest center in the world, but he's a good depth piece. I just thought they would invest more in O-line, but maybe they truly believe in their offensive line room. I can understand that to an extent. What I can't understand is not going, especially when there were some decent corners in this draft that were in your range. I don't understand not going for one of those corners. That's the part for me. I don't get it. Now, don't get me wrong. When you look outside of those first 2 picks, if you said, hey, they didn't have any second rounders and they went Terrell Burgess and Terrell Lewis, I would say, you know what, at least they're taking shots at the apple. They're trying to build around their defense. It would make sense. So maybe I'm just being a little bit over the top about the first 2 picks. But the real question is, what are they doing? What is this team doing? Are they in win now mode? Because you got Darrell Henderson, you got Cam Akers, you got Malcolm Brown, you paid Whitworth to stay for an extra 3 years, even though he's probably not making it to the end of that contract. He'll probably retire before then. You have Robert Woods, Josh Reynolds, Cooper Kupp as your receivers. You're looking to mix and match and add a little bit more 12 personnel. So you drafted an extra tight end. You have 2 tight ends on the roster who are really good. it seems like they're trying to build this team with an eye for the future, but at the same time trying to it's like they have a plan and they went, no, fuck the plan. And they went, no, fuck this plan. We'll go back to that plan. And they keep going back and forth. That's what it really feels like. So what do I think about the LA Rams? Meh. I don't think they're winning their division this year, right? I think it's going to be, I think the Arizona Cardinals could probably beat them out. I think I think that the San Francisco 49ers are going to be the ones to beat in that division. But we've seen this before, like it happened, but I feel like this is the team that's falling apart. And I called it last year. I have some video from this podcast a year ago where I said I think the LA Rams are the most likely team to take a step back and fall to the bottom of their division. I know everybody else said they called it too, but I really did. It's on this podcast earlier on a year ago. Part of it was, again, I said they lost a lot of interior O-linemen. Now they got to really hope they build up that depth that they've built up over the years of guys who they drafted in mid-rounds really pans out. They lost Saffold. They lost a couple of good interior players. Whitworth's getting older. Haverstein played last year. Now, granted, Haverstein played with an injury last year, so maybe he comes back and bounces back. I'm just saying, I expect more from ULA. That's what I think I was saying. I think that's where we go with this. Jared Goff, I actually don't hate Jared Goff as a quarterback. I think he's the new Andy Dalton. I think that'd be a good point for him. He's the new Andy Dalton. If you have a good coach, or you have a good scheme, you have good players around him, he will be good. If you get him in a rhythm and timing offense, I think he will be fine. But I feel like he's the new barometric. If you don't have better than him, you got to be looking for a quarterback because everybody's got quarterbacks now. So you got to look for the better quarterback. He is that line in the sand of if you don't have better than this, you need to keep looking. And I think that's what it is. That's my thought on Jared Goff. I actually kind of like Darrell Henderson. That's why I'm a little shocked about the Cam Akers pick, especially so early. But I guess maybe they felt like this was the last draftable good running back that was available. In fact, I think they traded up for Darrell Henderson last year too, so that makes it even weirder. And again, it sounds like they're trying to build out some of the core. But again, this is a deep receiving class, right? Clay Johnson sounds like a guy who's going to be trying to compete, like one of the young guys competing for linebacker. Like I said, I like watching LA because when they were good, they were fun to watch. They had some great teams, especially if you love fantasy football. Todd Gurley was amazing. It's just starting to seem like this team is losing all the bits and pieces that made it good. They have Micah Kaiser, who they're hoping will be able to replace Corey Littleton on the inside. So it sounds like they're trying to go small, quick, fast, and build up the D-line to help stop the run. I get it. It's a good strategy. That's the one strategy I seem to like that they're doing, right? Get a bunch of quick defensive backs that are also kind of nickel linebacker guys and get them to play in the backfield. Shut down somebody with the Jalen Ramsey portion of your team, and then you have a bunch of guys up front who are going to get to the quarterback and get pressure, especially because you have Aaron Donald. Yeah, that's about it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please follow, subscribe. You can follow the podcast at Draftvice on Twitter, at Draftvice_football on Instagram. You can follow me at BROJO. Death is in the end of life. And Punch, a delicious drink you drink on a summer day.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
About the past and about the future.